Well, for my barrier identification in a lesson, I don't know if this would be considered a lesson, but I don't know. The reason I want to do this because it's kind of been a topic of discussion for my first grade accountable community at my placement that I'm currently at. Because it's been well, it got brought up due to some parents having issues with the infamous timed math test. I never really gave it much thought. I did it. I'm sure many of us in this class have done them, and it's kind of been a staple, I guess, in the classroom for many years. Um, well, actually, it wasn't until this year that I actually found out what was the purpose behind these math tests. This whole time I was like, well, that we've just always done it. But when I asked, and like, what are these for? And it's to help for math fluency, to help you. They're meant to help the students become more fluent in their math facts. First grade, we're doing addition and subtraction. Right now, most of my students are in addition. Right now, most of them are on addition with three. I have maybe two students that are in 0 to 5. After that, they will be moving on to addition with six. Um, Basically, all it is they have a paper, just the basic paper with, I think it's like 50 math facts, and they have their time. They have, it used to be 3 minutes. It used to be they have to have 3 minutes to complete it. Right now, currently, they are allotted 5 minutes to complete the math test, and they have to complete it a minimum of 3 times and they have to get the same test correct 3 times in order for them to move on to the next one. So from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 and so on and so forth. Um, I guess for lesson methods, you're only paper and pen and your brain, I guess, is what you're using. There's really no opportunity to use visuals, to draw, to orally explain what you understand, what you don't understand. And your assessment, basically the way they're assessed is it's either you get it right or you don't in the amount of time given. If you don't, then you don't move on, and if you do, then you move on, which is great for those who are moving on. But for those who are not, we got to evaluate um, why they're not. And from what I've seen, it looks they're not really getting looked at. You see the the students making the same mistake over and over again, but no one has really taken the time, including myself, to be like, hey, I've noticed that you keep getting this wrong. Like, no, let's work on this problem. Let's see where you're getting confused. It's how would I say it? There's no one's checking. I guess no one's checking up on them, or no one's like going over the previous test. When the next day comes, they get their old test. The new one goes. The new one's on their desk, and the old one gets shoved into the backpack. Who knows if they're reviewing it, if they're going over it, or if it's just going in the trash when they take it home. Um, for me, I think that those the time math tests create a lot of anxiety. I know they gave me, I still remember math gave me anxiety in general, but I still remember those gave me anxiety to where, I don't know, I didn't feel confident taking them. Like, I already knew, like, it was either you get it or you don't. And I was one of those that a lot of the times, like, I don't get it. So if the fact I didn't get it in the allotted time, it's like you're telling me like, oh well, I'm not good at math. I'm not good at my math fluency, although I didn't know it was called math fluency. Um, I think ways where we can make this more create math fluency lessons or talks that are more universally designed is find different ways to approach it. I mean, I'm not saying we have to completely get rid of time math tests, But like I was looking like at some articles and I found some really cool things where um, one Pinterest where one teacher had blogged about, let me see what she did, instead of, and this is just for the time math says, instead of having a timer counting down for her students, she had a timer going up. So they were completing it. There was no I didn't finish it, because I've seen the disappointment on some of my students' faces, first graders, that are really bummed out, and we shouldn't do things that make our kids feel bad about themselves, whether they admit it or not. So there's no, it's, you finish it and you write your number, the time. Okay, finish it in 3 minutes, perfect. Write 3 minutes on the top of the page. Finish it in 3 minutes and 13 seconds. Write that on the top of your page. And then from that, one thing I liked is that they corrected it together as a class. So the students had an opportunity to see what they missed, kind of go back and see what was going on, and then they record it. They have a record sheet where they record it. So it's about beating themselves. So they're like, oh, last time I finished it in three minutes. Next time I'll finish it in 2 minutes and 55 seconds. Um, so that's just ideas that I have just for the test that, I don't know, maybe that's one way. That's one way of showing, if we're talking about universal design, that's one way of demonstrating what they know is according to math fluency. But I mean, I have students that they know what they're doing, but they write numbers backwards. They write their fives, write their fours, their six backwards. So maybe something in written format isn't the best way for them to demonstrate what they know according to math fluency, because they know it, but they're writing, some writing isn't good, and some is, they're just writing it backwards. Or maybe there's students who are dyslexic, or mix up their numbers, and it's not they don't know it, but there's something that it's keeping them from processing that information. Other things that we've done that I like, that I think kind of broadens um, children's opportunities, students' opportunities, maybe called number talks. Um, see if I could show you real quick. Basically, it's, oops, no, I don't like that. You have something, I don't know if you could see it, kind of like a circle, and you have, okay, your number of the day, let's say it's 10. And as a class, okay, I'll put that down. As a class, we develop 4 ways, orally and visual. It's orally, visual representation, and written format, because they're going to collaborate with each other. They're going to talk. We have them think, pair, share with each other, help each other out. It's like, oh, what are ways to demonstrate 10? How do we, how do we, you know, can it be written? Can we draw it? How can we talk about it? We could write a story poem. Like, what are ways to demonstrate? So we get 4 different ideas, where one might say, oh, 5 plus 5. Or somebody might say, we could draw 3 cubes and 7 cubes, and together that makes 10. So there's your visual representation. And then those students that, listen better, not listen better, grasp information better, understand things better, with auditory learners, they're not only seeing it, but they're also hearing all the information, as opposed to just having to write it with the time test. Then there's those that see the math facts, those that see the written math facts. And again, it's like they're seeing it, they're talking about it, they're hearing it, and it's not just in written format. I guess what I'm trying to get at, and is that it's allowing them to see it, understand it, process it in more than one way, which is universal UDL, universal design learning. Other things would be that I just looked up was just I looked at math fluency games or something, and it's like there's these games online that they're engaged, they're stimulated, um, and they're learning. Like they don't realize they're learning, but they're learning, and I think that's the best part. Like even with my kids, when I put these apps, I'm like, "Whoa, look, this cool game I got you," and they're all into it, but they have no idea that they're gaining some educational benefit from this, from the games that they're playing. Um, Other things in which they could develop. I know my students already do it as well. It's called number of the day, which I don't know. Again, let's go with the 10. That they have the number of the 10, number of the day, and they have to write it. They have to write it out. They have to write a number sentence. There's up to 10 different ways in which they have to represent this number, including math. What is it? Number sentence. Sorry. And again, I think that's promoting the UDL because it's allowing them to express their knowledge of something in in more than one way. And we don't. And if we want to go to math fluency, we could put we could even put actual like 7 plus 3, and then be like, what does this mean? Draw it out. Let's talk about it. Write it out. However they can best express themselves, like allow them to do it. Um, Something going back to the main topic, which is the time test. I think it really limits the student's ability to demonstrate what they know. Um, it no longer becomes a part of, are you fluent in your math facts? Um, it's how fast does your brain work? At least that's the way I see it. And it shouldn't be about that. It should be, I don't care if it takes you longer than Sally, but the point is that you understand. Whether, regardless of how you express your understanding, you your understanding, and I, as a teacher, am allowing you to express yourself in those ways. If we only limit ourselves and more importantly, if we limit our students to one way of showing what they understand, we're really not fulfilling our duty as a teacher and allowing our students to fully develop. Um, I don't know. I don't know how much. I don't know what else I would say. It's just that personally, I'm not a big fan of the time test. I'm sure there's a million other ways that we could demonstrate math fluency in which it would reach a lot more of our students than sticking to something because it's the way we've always done it. Um, Luckily, my teacher is all about learning. She's all about her students, and she's working on it. She's trying to slowly, you know, I'm not saying she would do away with the time math test, but she's slowly trying to incorporate other things that allows our students to demonstrate how fluent they are in math and their math facts. Um, one thing I found kind of funny is I was reading an article and it said like, oh, math fluency helps relieve anxiety, but yeah, this time test is causing that for many of our students. We had one parent say that her student was crying every time she would show her the math test because she wasn't completing it. And she would get done, but it was like one or two problems that she was doing wrong, but yet no one allowed her to express her understanding in any other way. Hopefully, this is something that I guess in all schools, I guess all the districts could start moving away from and start focusing on other things that are going to better facilitate the learning of fluency, math fluency, because this isn't really doing the job. And that's it. Thank you for listening to me.